Ellis, this is New York City.
Yes, it is, Ramon.
A lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
Oh, look! That's a pigeon carrying a hot dog. Oh my God.
Pigeon can't carry a hot dog.
Of course they can. They do it all the time. Look.
No, pigeon's too small.
Ellis, look. The pigeon is carrying a hot dog.
A pigeon's got to flap its wings 43 times a second to maintain airspeed velocity. This is physically impossible.
That very well could be the case, but a pigeon is carrying a hot dog. It's right there. Look at the card. The guy's running after the pigeon right now.
Maybe it's a South African pigeon.
Ah, but this is New York.
Maybe if it were two pigeons.
I don't think so.
Hi, and welcome to Ignition. I'm Ellis Friedman.
And my name is Ramon Ray. Ignition is a weekly show where we take one question that can help you transform and grow your business. And Ellis, where can people send their questions to have their questions answered on Ignition?
At blog@infusionsoft.com.
Awesome. So, what is our question of the day?
Our question of the day is from Lisa. I run a popular local restaurant. We have 2 locations and could do a third, but before I go down that road, I want to make sure all our finances are in order. We're turning a modest profit at both locations. I look over the finances, but don't really understand them. My friend's nephew handles them, but how do I know that we're doing the right things with our money? How do I ensure that my business stays financially responsible?
Awesome. Are you a financial guru, Ellis?
Absolutely not.
And I'm not either. Thankfully, we don't have to answer that question today.
Yeah.
We have with us today Raj Thakkar, who's the founder and co-founder and chairman, president, CEO extraordinaire. You can correct all that.
Overlord.
Yeah, overlord of FOREsight, which is financial services for good. So welcome to the show, Raj.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. So what do you think?
So what I would do first and foremost is to make sure that internal controls set up. You want to make sure that there's checks and balances and you reduce the likelihood of fraud.
So what kind of internal controls? What does that mean?
Shouldn't have any one person who's doing all the purchasing, entering bills, cutting checks, processing your bank reconciliations, because then if one person's doing all that, then the temptation could be there to sneak a little bit something on the side for themselves.
Okay.
Okay. So what's next?
So what's next is creating a budget for the year and assessing against the performance of the budget on a monthly basis, where you create not only your budget versus actuals to see if your plan is actually going where it was intended to go, but then also forecasting through the fiscal year end to get a sense of where your profit or loss is headed towards by the end of the year.
And Raj, this seems like something very, very billion-dollar companies have to have. Do small businesses have to do this too? Isn't that a bit
Absolutely.
overbearing?
Every small business owner needs to know where their numbers are headed. You know, the numbers will tell you exactly where, if the fiscal health of the business, whether you should launch your next location or you should scale back, or if you need to cut some staff or add some staff. The numbers really lay out a really clear roadmap.
So internal controls, budget, what else?
The forecasting, and then also if you're having a really good year, you want to mitigate your tax liability. So you should definitely have a great CPA auditor that you're working with. So if you're supremely profitable, then you can choose to do what we like to do is really share with your staff and incent them for the long haul. You can take that tax hit and you know, get stuck with a huge bill to the IRS, or you can find ways to sock it away for your retirement, you know, but definitely work with professionals.
But of course, within the confines of the law.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We don't advocate tax fraud here on Ignition.
But there's strategies that you can use that are smart.
I want to go back to your second point. I had a quick question when you're talking about forecasting your budget and doing the assessment. So if you're not a financially oriented person, that can seem like a really big task. So who could Lisa turn to help her do that?
Ideally, if she's got a bookkeeper that she's working with, what I would recommend is look at all your historical, your revenues per month historically, and then if you know your rent and all your other fixed costs like your staff, just look for averages that are going on. So divide up your expenses amongst fixed costs and variable costs, and then see how much of those variable costs like spike versus are pretty even. And then it's essentially a lot of extrapolation from there. But that's how we typically recommend, because there's a lot of knowns. Even though people may think the numbers, you know, it's very arbitrary, you have to assume something, come up with some some forecasts and then see where the numbers mean, and then you keep iterating until you get to something that's livable.
Is there anything that Lisa should look for in a CPA? Like, where do you, like, what sorts of things should you be looking for in that person?
Responsiveness, being super detail oriented, having that feeling that they're in the know and they're identifying things that weren't on their radar. Just really personable. Sometimes accountants and personality don't really mesh, but you want to make sure that you're getting service, right? Any kind of service business, it shouldn't be you have to chase down your bookkeeper or chase down your CPA to answer your questions. You're paying them a fee for a reason, and they should be answering your questions.
It sounds to me, Raj, we talked about internal guidelines, have a budget, forecasting, look about tax liabilities. It seems to me that I'm hearing get help, think about your business in a new way because you have to build the structure. Another thing you didn't mention, but I'm hearing here as well, what about training the business owner? Those who can't do it, would you suggest maybe they take a class or two, or they don't have to be a guru in finances, but something? Is that reasonable?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Great point. So a program that I went to that I really adore is the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. I took it about 2 years ago, and they educate you on all these things. That what I really valued was the stuff that was in my blind spot that I didn't even think about it. All the exit strategy, the risk management. It's an extremely thorough program where you have to commit for a 3-month period every other Friday, and totally free. Helped me create a growth plan for my business, launch a second business, practice pitching to investors if I ever so chose. Awesome program. So that's something that business owners should consider.
Maybe Ellis and I will go through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 seats, 10,000
small businesses
to make Ignition even better than it already is.
I would love to.
So, thank you.
Great. Sure. Raj, thanks so much for being here.
Sure.
Thanks for watching Ignition. My name is Ramon Ray, and this is a weekly show that we do to help you grow your business with one question. And Ellis, where can they find out more information about Ignition, or actually where can they email us, Ellis, to ask a question about their business?
They can email us, Ramon, at blog@infusionsoft.com. So Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. See you next time.